According to the data, at what age will you be your happiest, and at what age will you be your most miserable? In this video, I'm going to talk to you about happiness over the lifespan, and to make it even more interesting, I'm also going to talk about the different kind of life crises that you might expect to happen throughout your life. But it's not all bad news. There are reasons to feel optimistic, so make sure you keep watching to find out. And if you are interested in using psychology to become a better, more optimistic version of yourself, please remember to subscribe. So, in life, when are you most likely to be your happiest? Well, this is an article published by The Economist, which talks about the so-called U-bend of happiness. Basically, people peak in happiness in their early 20s and then again in their 60s or 70s. And it's in midlife, roughly between the ages of 40 and 50, that this happiness dips. What is the global average age for being your most miserable? It's 46. What are the theories for this happiness dip in your 40s? It's believed to be the result of a number of different things: career-related stress, family responsibilities, unmet goals, especially big life goals, changing life perspectives, or financial hardships, such as paying off a mortgage. You might be interested to know that this so-called low point in happiness, according to the authors of this article, does vary across countries. So for example, for Ukrainians it's 62, and for the Swiss it's 35. By the way, how is happiness measured? In two different ways. First of all, global well-being, and second of all, hedonic or emotional well-being. This makes sense. Imagine that you've just gotten your dream job and you are so excited about it, but 1 or 2 weeks into the job, you're finding that it's actually a lot more stressful than what you were originally thinking. But you don't regret getting your dream job, you still love it, it's just that your emotional well-being at that point in time isn't the best. Now, as interesting as these findings are, we do need to be wary of a couple of things. First of all, this was a news article, not a research paper. While the article does refer to certain studies conducted by researchers on happiness, it doesn't actually specify which studies. This just makes it a little bit harder for us to analyze and critique what the researchers did exactly. For example, how many participants, and how were the participants recruited? Second of all, not that this is a limitation, but we do need to be wary that this article was published in 2010. That just means that the findings might be a little bit outdated by now. Number 1, the mental health crisis in adolescents and young adults. Are they really that happy? While the U-Bend article doesn't report on happiness for those aged 18 or under, there is evidence to suggest that teens, or at least from Western countries, have been getting less and less happy over time. This plot is from the World Happiness Report. It shows life satisfaction scores for those aged between 15 and 24 years old across different parts of the world. When looking at just Western countries, you can see that since 2006, life satisfaction scores for teens and young adults have gradually declined. The Anxious Generation by psychologist Jonathan Haidt also addresses this topic. What did Haidt find? Basically, since 2010, which is when social media really started to take off, mental illness for teens and young adults has dramatically increased. This includes suicide rates, emergency room visits for mental illness among college students, and major depression among teens. And finally, in Australia, a report by the Australian Bureau of Statistics found that as of 2020, old people are officially happier than young people. Next, the quarter-life crisis. When you're transitioning from adolescence to early adulthood, you might find yourself anxious and uncertain about a lot of future decisions. This is a quarter-life crisis, and it typically happens in your 20s. At what age are you most likely to go through it? 26 years old. What about how many young adults experience it? Approximately 75%. This is based on the results of an online poll of just over 6,000 participants aged between 25 and 33 years old. Are there any differences between males and females when it comes to quarter-life crises? According to research, men are more likely to have a quarter-life crisis in relation to career stress, whereas women tend to be a bit more concerned about romantic relationships. What to do if you are going through a quarter-life crisis? Remember that it is normal, it will pass, and it is okay to not have everything figured out just yet. Next, midlife crises. Midlife represents that turning point in your life where you go from thinking of your life as time since birth to time left to live. And this can mean feeling that your future is no longer open-ended, that it might be harder for you to set new life goals, and also that you're stuck with the decisions that you've made in the past. And there is also the possibility that in midlife, you've come to realize that your big dreams in life never actually happened, and that on top of that, you've run out of time. And understandably, that can be a really hard thing to come to terms with. Or maybe it's that you now feel that so much of your life has been wasted. Maybe you spent too much time in an unhappy marriage or in a miserable job. These are things that might make you feel pressured into making certain life changes while you still have the chance. The good news is that these sorts of realizations can present with new opportunities for change, such as leaving a bad marriage, changing jobs, taking up a new hobby, or going on a long overseas holiday. While changing careers in midlife might sound daunting, it's worth keeping in mind that the wisdom and the life experience that you've acquired over time could be a huge advantage. For example, at what age is a tech founder most likely to be successful? We tend to think that young college dropouts are the ones who are most likely to succeed in big tech. But as it turns out, the average age of successful startup founders is actually 45. The researchers behind this particular study reported that this is largely because middle-aged founders have far more industry experience compared to younger founders. You might also be interested to know that in one particular study, the researchers found that elderly adults preferred midlife over any other stage in their life. While they thought of midlife as having many responsibilities, increased stress across multiple domains, and little time for leisure, they also saw it as a peak in confidence, ability to handle stress, sense of control, productivity, and social responsibility. And finally, if your midlife does turn out to be a bit, just remember that according to the data, your happiness is about to start going up again. So to sum everything up, it's probably fair to say that each age category has its own advantages and disadvantages. I would love to hear about your own experiences in the comments section below. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching.